Good morning. It is Thursday, April 30th, 2026, and you're tuned into our early morning intelligence update. I'm your host, and today we're looking at a deeply complex and rapidly shifting geopolitical board in the Middle East. Over the next few minutes, we'll objectively break down the facts on the ground, analyze the changing dynamics across multiple fronts, and see if this region is inching toward a lasting peace or potentially a wider confrontation. Let's get right into the data. Before we map out the operational picture, a quick note that this program is sponsored by ProWave AI. They're the developers behind Stylo Intel Ops, the AI-powered open-source intelligence program, and Stylo News, which is the commercial version available on the web and your mobile apps. Our explainer this morning will systematically cover 5 key areas. We'll start with a regional overview, then look at primary conflict patterns, perspectives of the key decision-makers, multi-level impacts, and finally, our future outlook and forecast. Starting with Section 1, our regional overview and intelligence, where we're mapping the current geopolitical board. Turning our attention to the international landscape, let's establish the current operating environment. Right now, the region is defined by overlapping tension, incredibly fragile agreements, and highly active military postures. As you can see, the operational picture shows some very delicate boundaries. We're tracking persistent activity right along the Lebanon-Israel border belt, especially those flashpoints near the Litani River crossing and the Nabatea sector. Now, while diplomatic channels remain open and a temporary ceasefire has been announced, the facts on the ground actually reflect an armed pause with active tactical engagements rather than a truly stabilized border. To build this assessment, analysts are continuously monitoring key open-source intelligence vectors. By tracking social media engagement around topics like Gaza, Lebanon, Hezbollah, the Strait of Hormuz, and Iran, intelligence systems can gauge shifting regional sentiment in real time. This kind of data allows observers to track localized incidents, verify official reports, and really measure public consensus across some deeply divided populations. Moving on to Section 2, primary conflict patterns, let's look at the actual facts on the ground. Shifting from the broad overview to the specifics, the situation is characterized by nominal ceasefires that are routinely offset by persistent military engagements. Reporting indicates a severely degraded security environment in southern Lebanon, particularly around Ben Jbeil, Hula, and the UNIFIL operating areas. We've seen lethal Hezbollah drone strikes on Israeli forces, subsequent Israeli military demolitions, and a highly concerning incident involving small arms fire that resulted in the death of a French UNIFIL soldier. This really underscores the stark reality that foreign uniformed personnel remain exposed to lethal risk, even under conditional ceasefire frameworks. Simultaneously, down in the south, the Israeli Defense Forces assess that Hamas is utilizing the pause in major combat operations to reorganize its military wing. Intelligence indicates they're leveraging this period to recruit new operatives and maintain civil governance over significant portions of Gaza. So we're seeing a complex pattern here. Diplomatic pauses are being actively used by combatants to consolidate their positions and prepare for potential future operations. That brings us to Section 3. Perspectives of decision-makers, and what we're calling the geopolitical gridlock. Assessing the positions of key political and military leadership reveals a deeply entrenched gridlock, with mutually exclusive demands preventing a real resolution. The fundamental deadlock is quite clear. The Israeli government insists that security can only be achieved through full proxy disarmament, and they're conducting preventative strikes to enforce this posture ahead of domestic elections. Conversely, Hamas flatly rejects yielding its weapons, demanding a full Israeli troop withdrawal before any reconstruction can even begin. Meanwhile, the U.S. administration is attempting to mediate by pushing a phased Gaza disarmament plan while simultaneously applying heavy economic pressure and enforcing blockades to force compliance. Looking at the broader regional players, we see the Lebanese government striving for permanent diplomatic agreements just to ensure national survival. But analysts assess Beirut currently lacks the institutional strength to project authority over Hezbollah or control those southern border dynamics. At the same time, Iranian leadership maintains a firm posture of defiance against U.S. demands. They're utilizing the strategic closure of the Strait of Hormuz to apply direct pressure on global energy markets, showcasing their resilience against Western economic sanctions. This leads right into Section 4, multi-level impacts and sentiment, observing the ripple effects of this gridlock. We have to objectively examine how this localized violence produces severe consequences across the board. The impacts are compounding in a very structured chain reaction. Locally, we're observing catastrophic infrastructure damage, critical shortages, and the mass displacement of over 1 million people across Gaza and southern Lebanon.
At the national level, this translates directly into intense political fragility, public protests, and loud demands for decisive action within Israel, Lebanon, and neighboring states. Ultimately, internationally, this localized instability is disrupting global energy markets via the Strait of Hormuz and completely stalling both European Union and United States peace initiatives.
Open source intelligence actually reflects a broad, common viewpoint shared by the United Nations, humanitarian agencies, and international bodies. The prevailing sentiment is a deep concern over the mounting civilian toll, which is sharply contrasted with the reality that deeply entrenched geopolitical rivalries are preventing any meaningful consensus. The international community recognizes the critical choice at hand, yet they remain totally divided on how to actually achieve it. A prime example of this international polarization is the recent diplomatic fallout between Israel and certain European nations. Following critical statements regarding Israeli military operations, Israel took the step of expelling Spain from a crucial civil-military coordination center. This specific event really underscores the deep internal divisions within the European Union regarding the conflict, and it illustrates exactly how regional hostilities are fracturing broader diplomatic relations. Finally, we arrive at Section 5, Future Outlook and Forecast, keeping our eyes on the horizon. Concluding our intelligence update, we're identifying the most likely events analysts are watching for in the near term. These are the pressure points that will dictate the region's trajectory. Within days, we face the expiry window of the fragile Lebanon-Israel ceasefire, which is a critical test of whether hostilities will resume at scale. In the coming weeks, the international community is closely monitoring the pending arrival of the global Sumud flotilla, carrying activists and aid from Spain, which will undoubtedly test maritime blockade policies. Looking toward mid to late 2026, we anticipate broader political ramifications from the recent historic municipal elections in Gaza, followed by crucial national elections in Israel, which will heavily influence future military and diplomatic strategies. As these critical events converge on the calendar, the international community is left observing a highly precarious balance. The immediate question is whether the pressure of these approaching trigger points will finally force the involved parties into a diplomatic breakthrough, or if they'll serve as the catalyst for a much broader breakdown. That concludes our summary of the current operating environment, and I want to thank you for listening to this morning's Intelligence Explainer. This program serves as a short lead-in to cue you for our comprehensive analysis covering the past 2 weeks of these events in complete detail. So, as a call to action, please listen to the full Stylo News Intel Update podcast on your favorite channel, or follow the link on this post. And be sure to visit stylonews.com to subscribe, where you can get continuous, objective, AI-powered news on demand. As you follow the news today, ask yourself, are we watching the final hours of a fragile pause, or the first steps toward a permanent restructuring of the Middle East? Good morning.